In this video, we're going to look at the impact that the rate hike that just happened this morning might have on the real estate market. Because as you probably heard, if you've been following the news, the Bank of Canada was expecting to raise the rate by 0.5%, and they did end up following up on their promises just this morning, which is June 1st. So we're going to kind of try to predict what kind of impact that might have in the coming months. So why don't we get started with the stats? And yeah, so this is the Bank of Canada, straight from the Bank of Canada website. It did go up by 50 basis points this morning. And this is the third hike, if you've been kind of following what they've been up to this year. So there was no hike for the longest time for obvious reasons. And then they just increased it by 0.25 in March, then mid-April by 0.5, and just today by 0.5 again. So obviously we can't predict the future, but what we can try to do is we can see what kind of impact these rate hikes have had so far, and then maybe this one will have the similar effect in the coming months. So let's look at that, the March and April rate hike impact. A few things that I think that are important to kind of know are cancellations of listings. Like how many people were kind of expecting the winter prices and they were not getting it, and now either they just don't want to sell because they're not going to get the price that we're hoping for, or they ended up canceling their listing and relisting it at a lower price. And we're also going to look at price drops. How many, kind of the same thing as cancellations, but rather than cancel the listing, people are just dropping the price of their listing. So we're going to look at that because that number's way up compared to winter time. Days on market. That's also important to know because you want to know how long the listing is going to take to sell, because you don't want to start making plans thinking the listing is going to sell in 7 days and then it takes 4 or 5 weeks to sell. So you want to look into that as well. And obviously everybody wants to know prices. So I will get into prices, and as always, the 5 cities I'm going to cover are Brampton, Mississauga, Burlington, Oakville, and Milton. I like to focus on these ones because this is where I work. So I don't want to be, covering like Barrie or Markham and stuff because I don't know that market. So even though I get the stats for them just as any other agent, I don't want to be talking about those markets because I'm not the best person to be covering those, So let's look at number of sales to begin with. And just for some context, March, April, May are always the busiest months of the year historically. I know the past couple of years, things have been kind of all over the place. But if you just look at historically, because that's considered like the spring market. So March, April, May are always the busiest, and June a little bit as well. And the slowest times are always like December, January, February. But this year, January, February was the busiest time of the year. And not surprisingly, the way things are going, May so far has been the slowest month this year, followed by April in second place. So we seem to be going the wrong way. So May has been the slowest so far. If you just compare it to March, each market is down about 32%. Oakville's down about 37%. Burlington not doing too bad, but still down 20% compared just to a couple of months ago. And now let's look at cancellations. Like I mentioned before, for one reason or another, a lot of people are canceling their listings. And no surprise here either, May had the highest number of cancellations this year. If you compare it to January, January is like nothing at all. So these two stats are not looking good for the month of May. Highest number of cancellations and lowest number of sales. So that's not a good combination. And 876 in Brampton. Mississauga, 700 people canceled the listing for one reason or another. Now, whether they came back on the market or not, it's hard to say, but they did end up canceling the listing. Now, a couple more things that I think are useful to know to see which way the market's going. Price drops and days on market. Okay, so these are the active listings right now on the MLS. This includes freeholds like detached homes, condos, everything, condo townhouses, everything. Okay, so Burlington, Oakville, Milton, Mississauga, and Brampton, as I mentioned before, those are the markets I'm going to be focusing on. So currently, let's say, for example, Mississauga. 1,486 listings in Mississauga available on the MLS. Out of those, 227 of them were not getting the price that they were hoping for, so they've dropped their price. And out of the 1,486, 849 of them have been on the market for longer than 2 weeks. Now, I've said this before, in a normal market, number is nothing special, because in a normal market, historically, it's normal for a house to take 3, 4, 5 weeks to sell. So if we were in a normal market, I would not even mention this number at all. But because we've been in such a crazy market, I thought it was a good idea to just at least mention this, because if I showed you guys these numbers for the month of January or February, these were very, very low. This was low, this was very low, because there was no reason to drop the price because everything was selling. And everything was selling in 3, 4, 5 days. And if it was taking 7, 8 days, it was intentional because they were trying to set up like a bidding war. So they were holding off on offers. So that's the reason I'm showing you guys these stats. Okay, the video is not over. There's a lot more stats to come. But I just want to shamelessly pitch myself. I am a real estate agent. I promise you this won't take more than 5 seconds. I am a real estate agent. I've been around 21 years. If you guys need any help, realtorvic.ca is where you'll find me. And there's the love of my life, the puppy of my life, and the junk food of my life. Anyways, back to the stats. So I just want to show you guys this as well. Out of the cities I'm talking about, out of the 5 cities I'm talking about, Mississauga and Brampton are usually the best sellers. Like, they have 33% market share each. And now let's look at average prices, which is kind of what everybody wants to see. And it's important for sure. Now, like I said before, May prices are not out yet. They will be out in about 2-3 days. So I will be making another updated video with May prices and comparing them to January, February, March, April. But for now, I'm just going to go with April prices. So because we're looking at the impact of March rate hike and the April rate hike. So the April prices are still relevant, I think. So every single market is down. I know I say so a lot. I'm sorry about that. I'll try to work on that. Anyways, every single market is down for detached homes. And that's from January to April. And if you guys want to see like month by month, so this is from January, February, March, April. And Oakville has been on a steady decline. Milton also peaked in February, declining since then. Mississauga kind of leveled off from March to April for detached homes. And what else? Burlington is also steady declining. Now, condo average prices. Same thing, same markets. January to April. Now, for Milton, Mississauga, and Brampton, they were slightly up comparing January to April. But I wanted to show you guys something. If you guys look in more detail, this is like an overview. So if you look at from March to April, the prices are still down. Like this is Oakville, dropped by a lot. Mississauga also down. Milton also down. Brampton also down. Burlington, same thing. So if you look month by month, everything is down. Detached homes, condos. These are freehold townhouses. Same thing here. This one peaked in March. Usually, most of the time, the market peaked in February. But same thing here. Every type of house is down, is struggling. Now, as I mentioned before, some agents kind of get mad at me that I'm reporting bad news, but I'm literally just reporting the stats as I see them on the MLS, on the Toronto Real Estate Board. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reporting the stats. And I think that's about it. Yeah, I just wanted to cover this video because the rate just went up. So if you guys are kind of wondering which way the market might be going in 2, 3, 4 months, we kind of have an idea of the impact that the March and April rate had so far. So maybe we can use this as a guideline to see what kind of summer and fall we might have. If you want my opinion, I think it is going to be slow. I don't see many offers, like multiple offers, bidding wars, like 20, 30 offers. I don't see that at all. I think prices will drop even more. As I mentioned before, May prices are going to be out in a couple of days, so I will be posting videos for each individual city, so it'll be a lot more detailed. But yeah, as I mentioned before, I am in real estate. I know I give a lot of bad news, but I apologize, but I think it's important to know the truth, rather than just sell you fluff and then disappoint you later on. Realtorvic.ca is where you can find me, and I think that's about it. Thanks. See ya.